In the Pits is partnered with Podrunners Union. Follow Podrunners Union on Instagram to find strength in union and celebrate our sports pit crew. Send in photos to represent your union local and be featured. Stealing pods for undeserving teams. It's a living. In the Pits is partnered with Mariachi Águilas de Oro. Based in Austin and servicing the surrounding areas, these golden eagles will bring life to any event you are having, from birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, corporate events, or even a simple performance to enjoy. Guillermo Padilla, one of their trumpet players, is also a member of the Texas paintball scene. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram to check out some of their past performances, or give them a call to book them for your event today. In the Pits is partnered with BEM Wraps. Behind every mask is a unique and creative player. Tap into it when you order your next custom headpiece. Their Build-A-Band lets you communicate with them one-on-one to make your order just the way you want, all the way down to the color of the stitch. Check out their Instagram at BEMWraps for drops and build videos of them working on orders. They offer very competitive pricing, so reach out today to get started on your own one-of-a-kind headpiece. In the Pits is partnered with Uno's Jerky. Made right here in the state of Texas by JC Limon, Uno's has some of the best tasting jerky around, and each flavor has ties back to Texas paintball. I personally recommend the Texas Titan flavor. Head to unosjerky.com and use code PITS10, where a portion of every purchase will go back into the Texas paintball scene. In the Pits is partnered with Hydra. Designed by players for players, you can outfit yourself in Hydra gear from head to toe. Have confidence that when you make a purchase from Hydra, you are purchasing a well-tested and well-thought-out product, trusted by several top teams, including first-place semi-pro team, PaintballFit.com. I personally recommend their Hydra Black knee pads. Purchases over $100 receive free shipping. Head to hydra.fit to browse their selection and discover the Hydra mentality. In the Pits is partnered with XTPL Events. The Extreme Tournament Paintball League is a series put on by the Lukow family of Paintball Fit fame that gives the opportunity for players to learn and grow together as a team. 3-man, Challengers and Champions X-Ball, Draft Mech X-Ball, and even Youth 3v3. There's something for everyone at XTPL. Not to mention prize tosses, raffles, and the infamous paintball munching contest. Events happen throughout the year, and the prizes never disappoint. Sign up for an XTPL event today on PB Leagues. In the Pits is partnered with Skull Monkeys Paintball. Equip, engage, excel. In the Pits is sponsored by FU Athletics, created with a purpose and focused on building a better you. We are a brand that matters in your workout, and every purchase gives back to cancer research. Go to thefuathletics.com and use code INTHEPITS25 for 25% off of your order. In the Pits is partnered with Compete. Compete is a Texas-based brand by Jell Stewart of professional team AC Diesel that provides custom jerseys, pants, headbands, straps, tech shirts, and any other soft goods to help individuals and teams compete at the highest level. Support Texas Paintball and message Compete on Facebook or Instagram and mention In the Pits Podcast for 10% off your entire order. In the Pits is partnered with Get Dat Shot. Get Dat Shot now offers first-in-line photo and video editing, 20% off Get Dat Shot merch, and 20% off prints to all teams that wear the Get Dat Shot logo on their jersey. Message GetDat_shot on Facebook or Instagram to become a Get Dat Shot program team. In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram. Welcome, everyone, to episode 65 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we will have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and a new special guest. I'm Christian Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans. In this episode, we are going in the pits with Charles Dean, owner and operator of MAXT Sportswear. Charles, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great up here in Chicago. We were talking a second ago. I'm enjoying the weather. It's 63 degrees, and I don't know what it's like in San Antonio this weekend, but
It's pretty hot. I think actually Tuesday, like either yesterday or today, was like the first day below 100 degrees.
oh my gosh, yeah, I mean, we've been sitting at 2 months now in triple digits, and it has been brutal. I mean, the last Bunker Fest and the last USXBL were just ovens.
Oh yeah, and one of my friends on the Titans was the guy that did the sports IVs, and
Yeah,
he said that business was very good for him to say the least at that last event.
he was set up next to me at the last Bunker Fest event, and I mean his chairs were full. But it was needed. I mean, he probably saved some people from having heat stroke just by being there. So that's awesome that he's doing that.
Yeah, I think he did over like 130 IVs that weekend, whereas the one
Wow.
in May he did like I want to say like 50, and he eclipsed that on the first day of Bunker
Yeah,
Fest.
easily. I considered it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into it. So this one first question is brought to us by XTPL Events. For those listening that maybe don't know about you, how long have you been involved in the Texas paintball scene?
Oh my gosh. I guess involved with the scene since 1999. I'm from Houston originally, so I played out there. And I started playing at a little field called Paintball USA, which is now known as TXR Paintball, northwest of Houston. And man, it was just instantly like my paintball family. Like I made instant friends, and I loved it. And then I learned about Daryl McNeil, the owner out there, and he was just all about tournament paintball, and he loved it. And I had no idea what it was. Got hooked up with a couple guys out there, and I started playing just 3-man. And I remember back then, it's kind of funny that I do custom jerseys now, because what I thought was cool was a camo like BDU shirt, and I had khakis, and khakis were it. Like you look super cool playing with khakis out there and not full camo. And I started playing 3-man, and then quickly graduated into 5-man, and jumped onto a different team. And in 2000, we actually wound up winning the PMI Rookie Division Championship, which was a super cool feeling, like coming into the sport. And shortly after that, in 2001, was my first year going to World Cup. Um, 2000 was also the year I was exposed to scenario paintball, and I got to play this 24-hour scenario game that Viper Paintball produced at the time. It was at Paintball USA, which is how I kind of found out about it. And I was like, yeah, I'll try this scenario paintball. And the theme was StarCraft. And if you don't know what scenario paintball is, it's kind of like it's a lot of role playing. It's that game I think had, man, I think it was almost a 2,000 player game, 3 different sides that are battling each other on about almost 100 acres at that time. And I fell in love with that too. So I wound up doing both scenario paintball and tournament for years, and just kind of progressed through the scene and through the tournament scene. I I kind of bowed out of the sport around 2005-ish, I think. I was playing with a team called the Rollers in amateur, which I guess now that would be like Division 2, Division 1. We just played 5-man in Texas, but it was cool because it was an open division is what we played. So I got to play against like Texas Storm. I used to play against Colt Roberts, who plays with X Factor. And then when Storm wasn't playing, he would jump on Rollers, and I got to play with him, which was a lot of fun because back then, he was just as badass as he is now. And just he was a lot of fun to play with. So we got to play against some really high level paintball players. And I took a few years off. I had, kids that were young. They're all grown now. But at the time I realized if I wanted to keep progressing in the sport, like I had to travel. And it just kind of wasn't in the cards for me at the time. So I took about a little over 4 years off of the sport. And didn't really have any intention of getting back into it. I missed it, but I just didn't want that time commitment because, as everyone knows, when the paintball bug bites, like it gets you. And I knew that. And so just as happenstance had it, my friend Viper, Kerry Rosenberry, was he had a game up in Indiana at this field called Sherwood Forest, and it was I think it was in 2010 maybe. And he asked, and I was buying a Ford Explorer from my work at like this really good deal, and I was like, man, I got to fly up there. And saw he had a game. I was like, hey, are you driving to that game? He said, yeah. So I roll up. He's like, just hang out on Friday night. Then you can grab the car and then drive home. I go up, do the Friday night thing at these scenario games, and then there's a ref loaned me his paintball gear, and I played paintball all weekend, and I loved it because nobody recognized me when I left the sport. Most people in scenario or a tournament, like, everybody kind of knows who you are, and they expect you to do something. And that was the first time I got back into paintball from when I was playing it in the early 2000s, where I could just have fun and just enjoy it. And it just made me fall in love with it again. And I got right back into it instantly. And ever since then, I got back into tournament pretty heavy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Been on the tournament scene, played a lot of like NXL was just starting when I left the sport in like 05-ish, and it was like the first original NXL seasons, and it really changed the game. So when I came back in, I had a huge learning curve. But I wound up playing mostly in Houston for a while, and then I got back. I found a team out of San Antonio called Grit, and this was around 2013. I started playing with Grit, and man, it was just we had a lot of fun. We did well in D4 and then D3 X Ball, and then 2017 was like the last season that I actually played, full time on a team. So ever since then, I've guested on teams, or I've done some things, jumping on other teams, or started some things. Like last year, we played mechanical. I played with like Nick Masons with Masons Paintball, a lot of those guys, and some friends, and we just played NXL mechanical 7-man, and that's been a lot of fun. So I still stay involved. I just, running MAXT, it's really hard for me to dedicate time to a team. I'm very competitive. And if I can't be out there every single weekend, just training and being the best I can, I know if I go out there and I screw up in a game, or I don't do as well as I could because I didn't train as hard, I couldn't forgive myself. So I'm still able to be around the sport and play the sport and be around the people and enjoy it doing what I do. So hopefully that wasn't too lengthy.
No,
but
I love it. Do you, even though you're kind of out of the playing tournaments, like consistently, do you still find time for the scenario events at all?
I haven't been playing much scenario. Honestly, when I pick up a paintball gun now, like I prefer to get on the tournament field. I might, there's a game coming up in Oklahoma at Avid called The Brand. I'm going to try to slide up for that one. I've got a pretty busy travel schedule, so it's really tough, man. I told JD out at XTPL, I want to play the mech event so bad, but I time those weekends like when I can have like some time off from travel and actually give myself a weekend off instead of being at an event. And I'm like, man, I know that this is your time to take a weekend off. And man, you always do it the weekends that I'm taking off and you schedule it. But I just need to just bite the bullet one weekend and go play. Because every time I see the pictures from it or I see the guys playing it, it looks like so much fun. And I love mech balls so much.
Right. And I mean, that's the beauty of XCPL is that it seems like they have a tournament at least once a month, if not more. There's always something going on up at FIT. So I'm sure eventually, you throw enough darts at the dartboard, something's going to stick.
Exactly. Yeah, they do such a great job. Actually, I played. They had an XTPL. I don't remember what the event was. But they had pro guys guesting and played with Icy from Diesel, and that was a lot of fun because I've known him a long time. And we played with the Avarice guys, and like it was cool kind of stepping back in there. I actually didn't anticipate playing that much. And then they kept spinning me because I was doing pretty well that day. And honestly, I kind of surprised myself. I was like, cool, okay, it's kind of like riding a bike, getting out there with these guys, because there's some awesome players that play out at FIT. And I mean, it's tough competition. So I definitely felt it the next day.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, Texas is a pretty tough conference to play in.
It is. It always has been, though. I mean, it's been tough since back in the day. There's been so many great, teams and athletes that have come out of here in the sport of paintball. And it's cool to see how strong it is. Like you can go to any major city in Texas and find professional players to scrimmage with, play with. And most of them are very willing to coach younger players. And you don't always get that with pro teams across the country and at different fields. So that's pretty special to Texas.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the last couple of teams that have come up out of semi-pro and earned their spot in the pro division. You've got Austin Notorious, the most recent one, and one of your teams that you sponsor. Paintball Fit is currently on track to becoming the next pro team. And then even before that, I know they're not Texas, but they're Texas adjacent. You've got the New Orleans Hurricanes, who kind of rose up through playing within Texas for so many years under the name Gulf Coast Hurricanes. So like a lot of Texas talent, and like it shows you this is the spot to be if you want to grind all the way to the top.
Yep. Man, the Hurricanes look really good too this year.
Oh yeah, and they immediately, like as soon as they came in, it was like, oh, this is a consistent Sunday team.
Yeah, what I'm really enjoying, about is there's so many players that I've seen that are on Hurricanes, even on Diesel, or all through the pro division that I've either played with or I've seen. When I know some of these guys when they got in the sport and they were learning how to play, and 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, some of these guys, and even further back, like a lot of them, you would never have thought that these guys would have gone pro. And they were good players, but to see them doing so well now is just, I don't know, man. It makes me feel good to watch these guys and get to be so proud of what they've, the work that they've done and how they've accomplished, like their dream of becoming a professional paintball player.
Definitely. And it makes you also like kind of excited for the other guys who are making their way up right now, because they're seeing, hey, they did it. Why not me?
Yeah, definitely.
So take me back to 1999. Tell us about how you first got into paintball.
So 1999, like I said, that was kind of when I felt like I actually became a paintball player. 1998, actually I guess it was the end of 97, middle of 97 was the first time I actually played paintball. And that's the year I graduated high school. And was that the year you were born?
I was born in 96, so close.
Oh, okay, close. And I remember I went and played just some little field. It was terrible. Like when I look back on it, like that's probably like the worst paintball experience you could have given anyone. But I had so much fun. I couldn't see out of my lens. It was so scratched up. I had like an old Tippmann carbine, wouldn't feed. I think I shot a hopper like all day long, and I was out there like 6 hours playing against guys with old auto mags with like remote setups and these big tanks on their back, and they're geared up and just overshooting the crap out of us. And but I loved it. I was like, man, that was so much fun. It took me a couple of years to actually get back out to a field and then play. But once I did, I knew I didn't want to go out with a rental gun. I remember that. So I don't know why I wanted to go. And I started shopping for paintball guns. And then I didn't really know anything about them. And I got a Spider TL and like a CO2 canister and just a gravity feed hopper. And I remember I thought it was cool because it had this knurled front grip. It wasn't even an expansion chamber, but it just looked cool to me. So that's what I got, and then went out and played. Played with that for a while, and saw these other guys with these autocockers. And then it was right as the Angel was coming out, which was like the first high level electronic gun. Everything was mechanical: autocockers, auto mags, Spiders, Tippmanns, and I fell in love with the autococker because I don't know, there was something about that back block just kicking. It was just like this super mechanical device that's out there just throwing paintballs downfield. And of course, everybody was, you have all these like it shoots flat, or it does this, it's closed bolt, all these things in paintball that are some true, some myths. But I thought, man, that thing's an accurate paintball gun. I like the way that it feels when you shoot it, like I'm getting one of those. And I started shooting autocockers, and I don't think I ever looked back until probably closer to the end of that first part of my paintball career, when I started shooting a Bob Long Intimidator. And that was my first electronic gun that I got. And I mean, that thing screamed. Mm-hmm. So uncapped semi.
And people, they always ask for an uncapped semi to come back. And I'm like, does it really need to come back now?
People cry about getting shot 3 times now. Like, watch some of the old like Durder videos and Short Bus videos, and you see what uncapped semi, or even NXL full auto back in the day at 15. And I mean, guys are just covered. I don't think there was anything as overshooting back then.
Oh, definitely. So this next question is brought to us by Pod Runners Union. What are some things that you've noticed that have changed within the Texas scene, either for better or for worse, during your stay?
Um, I mean, it has changed a lot since the early days. I mean, there are good and bad things. I think kind of what we were talking about before the thing started. I think recently the change that I've seen that I think is very positive is I see a lot of youth getting involved in the sports. And I've been saying for years that like the only way to grow paintball is to bring in new blood. Well, how do you bring new players and get people interested in it? It's kids. Like that's why the NFL, that's why, Major League Baseball and all these sports are so big is because from the time you're a kid, you pick up a ball and throw it. Well, paintball's had a problem with that because most, kids can't play till they're 10 years old at most fields because of insurance reasons and safety. They're small. So now we have things like Jelly Ball and I know they're all different brand names, basically low impact things. So you can get these 4 and 5 and 6-year-old kids playing paintball at an early age, and then they watch their parents play it, and they can go out and do it on their own terms, and they're having just as much fun as the adults out there playing because it's their speed. And what we're seeing now is a lot of kids graduating from that in the last couple of years, and then into tournament paintball. And we started seeing it at the NXLs. We started seeing it at the local level. There's big youth divisions like Bunkerfest has it. Like XCPL had a good youth division that was coming out. I don't know if USXBL is doing one next year, but
They are doing one for the championships. Yes.
yeah. So I mean, that just youth division wasn't really a thing, except you go and there'd be 3 or 4 teams maybe at a national event. But man, to have youth divisions is just awesome. And then what I'm also seeing now is, a lot of the teams, like I don't, Paintball Ladies are a team out of San Antonio, and Cherie and Cindy, and those girls are helping, some kids get into it, and they're the Paintball Ladies youngins, and they're varying age from just getting into it. I think they have, I think their oldest is like 15. She actually came in from Phoenix. I cannot remember her name. She'll kill me, but they're coming, they're traveling, kids are traveling to go play, and then these players are able to share their knowledge and pass it on to these kids and then kind of build that camaraderie. Well, those kids are going to grow up and they're either going to play with them, as they get older, or they're going to go to other teams. Bricktown Young Bucks, they're out of Oklahoma, and they come down a lot. They're kind of spread out. Bricktown Bucks is a good organization out of Oklahoma, and those guys, same thing. Like they have this huge youth organization that's forming, and there's I think is Dallas Dolls. Is that one of
Yep.
like Dallas
Dolls just came up as well. I know
Mhm.
that Cooper Harrison's younger sister is on that team, and I think she's like 9 years old or something like that.
Yeah, how cool is that?
It's
That is so cool.
It's definitely an exploding movement. I know even down at X Factor, you do have the paintball ladies, youngins who I've got their
Countdown
profile.
kids.
Yeah, Countdown is out here.
Yep.
The Rapids / Reapers kind of evolved into Countdown City, or they merged. There was something in there, but there's a lot of youth players coming out all over the place, and it shows you like that's something that's been needed. And just to save your skin there, I've got her APPA profile pulled up. The youngins lady from Phoenix, her name is Kaylee Salem.
Yes, Kaylee's awesome. Yeah, she was super nervous. That was actually her first tournament, but she traveled for it. She came in with Raina, little legs out there, and she brought her along. So, like these experienced players that are out there are sharing their knowledge with these kids, and you can see if you guys haven't been out there looking at these people that are coaching, all of our peers in the paintball world, they are coaching these kids, and like they are into it. I mean, they're lighting up. They're really excited to show these kids how to play. And I think the healthy way to do it is it's just like Pee Wee League and thing. I mean, I'm very competitive. I think winning's important, but when you bring someone into such a high impact sport like paintball, like really teach them the fundamentals. Like let them get their legs under them before you start, knocking them around about winning. Just let them go have fun. Remember what it was like when you first went out there and played, and the adrenaline rush you had. I mean, you're not putting. I didn't. Everybody always tells me when I see these kids come out, um, and they play their first D5 tournament, and they'll play, 5 or 8 matches like round robin, and they win 3 of them, and they're like, oh, we did so bad. I'm like, you did great. Because I don't think I won a paintball point when I first started playing paintball for 6 months. Like every tournament I played, like they wiped the floor with us. I was terrible, but I still had fun, and I learned and I got better. Like that's what these kids do. They need to have fun. They need to want to come to the paintball field on the weekend. And man, the more we can grow that, there's just going to be more talent to choose from, and that's how you see paintball grow. That's how you see the industry thrive. That's I'm excited about it. But that is one thing in Texas paintball I think recently that has changed for the positive, and I'm really excited to see it.
100%. And I think kind of building off of that, the reason that you're seeing the explosion is like, I know you said that kids aren't necessarily coming up with paintball guns in their hands like they are like having a football or a baseball to throw around in the backyard. But like at the same time, things like Nerf guns and things like that have been around for many, many years. And I think the problem was, yes, those things like the toys and stuff at home were always there, but whenever they went to go make that next step into kind of dipping their toes into the sport, like they were immediately met with these 40-year-old dudes with 15 balls per second on cap, just like, hey, a new target to shoot at today, versus giving them an actual space for them to learn. And I can't remember who said it or what show it was on, possibly like Tom Cole or someone on one of the other paintball podcasts out there, but they were giving the comparison where if you look at other youth sports, the divisions are by age versus paintball where the divisions are by like a arbitrary skill ranking, and
Right.
you've got kids going up against fully grown adults for their first experience, and that's a big deterrent. And I think finally giving the space for these kids to just play with and against other kids their age or near their age is like exactly that entry point that we've been needing.
I agree with that 100%. I think, thinking about it now, the next evolution for youth is we get enough teams, maybe start dividing up, by age. So they are even that skill gap is reduced even more. And then, you have those anomalies. You might bump someone up that's just a lot better. It happens in Pee Wee football all the time. You'll have this 200-pound 12-year-old. So, those things you can adjust. So maybe we can get to that point where there's those incremental, divisions for kids.
Or hear me out. Get it as a high school sport.
Yes. We were just talking about college before we got on here and how, well, kind of before I segue into college play, do you remember a team called Child's Play?
Oh yeah.
They're a kids team. Marky Franz, who plays with Austin Notorious, plays pro now. He was on that team, and they were kids that were, 12 years old, and they were playing against grown-ups. They just happened to be pretty savage.
Mm-hmm.
They did really well at that age, but that's an anomaly. But that was a lot of fun watching those kids, play against guys, and it was pretty neat. But yeah, what I was saying about college earlier is, I really miss it. Like that's how we met when you play with the Longhorns, and I was doing the Longhorns jerseys and a lot of the college team jerseys back with NCPA, and there were so many friendships made and bonds that were made back then. Like I didn't play college paintball, but I still have like lifelong friends that I made from those teams, being at those events, working with those teams. And you said the same thing. Like you made a lot of friends through college.
Yep, and still have them, like, and guys that got their start in college that are still like in or around the game at least every now and then, if not consistently. And you've even got a healthy amount of current pro players that got their start in college. Now, imagine like how many more if we had that more consistent entry point before then.
Yeah. I mean, if Yeah, high school sports would be cool. Paintball does have that obstacle because there's that stigma with a lot of people in the public of it. You're shooting at each other and everything else that comes with that. But anything can be overcome with education. And I think having kids that are into it, and you get enough of them and enough people asking, who knows what can happen. I mean, I think it's our job is to push for that, as ambassadors of the sport and to educate people on what it is. Because it's funny, a lot of my friends outside the sport, like they don't know what I do. They don't understand this side of my life. And I'm like, you don't like paintball is it's a lifestyle. Like the people that play paintball, like this is kind of what we do. And a lot of people, this is like a top, three thing. I was actually talking to John Dresser at Invasion of Normandy, and I never really thought of it this way. And he put it so perfectly. At Invasion of Normandy, it's a big scenario game. It has like 4,000 players. It's huge, but a lot of those players just play that event. They don't play paintball every weekend. They're not even weekend warriors. Like they just play that event. And he's like, the guys that are in that we're usually associate with, like paintball is like a top 3 thing in their life. Like that's what they do. It's part of their identity. And then these guys, it's not even breaking the top 50. And to get kids at an early age to love paintball that much, where it just kind of becomes a part of their identity. Like I said, that's how you grow the sport is getting them to love it just as much as other players love football or you love playing baseball or any other sport.
For sure. And just having as someone who is an educator, at least, was teaching for the past 4 years, there's definitely ways that it can be done, even to get around the stigma or educate through it. It's just something that, hey, you've got another outlet for kids to feel like they have a place where they belong. You've got paintball itself. For anyone who listened to the round table episode that I had a couple of episodes ago, JD Lukow was saying that paintball teaches so many things in life that can make you successful. Even Ryan Brand was attributing to that, where so many of the original kids that were on the original X Factor are now very, very successful in their businesses. So there's so many ways that we can spin it to promote it within eventually schools would be really cool, but just to promote it among kids and teenagers, that I think that we could be successful, but the industry needs to have a objective and a focus on it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think the obstacle of the industry is the size of the amount of players is a barrier. That's always a barrier when people go out for sponsorships outside of paintball. They're trying to bring them in. When you look at the numbers of some of these other sports, like paintball's, it's kind of minuscule when you look at a lot of views and things like that paintball gets versus other sports. But the only way to do it, is to just keep doing what we do. And doing shows like this, like your show's been steadily growing, and you're getting just awesome guests on here. You learn so much. You learn things about people that maybe you thought they were a certain way, or maybe you learn something new from just listening to them talk. And I think that's why podcasts are so important. So it's pretty cool that you're doing this.
Yeah, appreciate that. And I'm happy to help get the word out on a bunch of cool individuals that are doing cool things in the scene. All right, so next question here is from Skull Monkeys Paintball. So as I want to kind of wrap up your history as a player. So as a player, do you have any standout highlight moments?
Man, this is probably going to be, I don't know, I don't know about a highlight moment, but I will talk about the most fun. Not counting I've had so much fun winning with guys and playing with guys and just going to these tournaments, traveling with guys. But one of the things that was a highlight for me in paintball that a lot of tournament guys will not understand, any scenario guys that watch this will totally get it, especially if they're more old school, is there used to be a lot of night play at scenario ball. Have you ever done that?
I've never gotten to do a scenario, not yet. It's definitely on my to-do list, but just haven't gotten to it yet.
It's very target rich. So the night play stuff at the old, when it was a true 24-hour format, one of the most exhilarating things for me about scenario, and this is actually why I don't play scenario as much, because I think I'm not getting that, but I'm like a rarity, is when you play at night. I mean, it's pitch black. You're playing paintball. and it's the only. I mean, you're like a ninja out there, and I was really good at like creeping up on someone. You didn't know I was there, and I could literally get up next to someone and touch them, and they would have no idea. Or I'd be in a bush, or I'd be crawling up to a objective or a base, and whole enemy troops would go by you. And I think it was a lot of fun because at the time I was playing a lot of like video games where there was a lot of things like Arma. I don't know if you remember Arma 3's out now on PC. Like Arma had this mission that was like that, and it was just like that was probably the most adrenaline that I actually got through paintball. Even with tournament, I'd get the adrenaline and the enjoyment, but that was just this weird thing in paintball that you just don't really find anymore. And there are guys that there were these $3,000 night vision units like hunting people down in the woods at night. It was pretty insane. For me, that was a highlight and an enjoyment of mine that I kind of miss that doesn't really exist. It's very hard to find that in the paintball world now. But it's kind of off the beaten path for the tournament guys and the tournament scene. But if anybody ever is like, hey, let's get out and go play some night ball, you should go do it if like a rec field's doing it just for fun. It's different.
And I'll add that to my list for sure. I don't think I mean, I know a lot of tournament fields are doing night ball now, but that's with the, the fancy lights hung up and like they have it at Paintball Fit, or they have, traditional stadium lights, but never pitch black. That's one that's not been on my list yet.
It's complete. Yeah, it's different. I will give you a tip. If you ever go out to Paintball Fit, there was another field. Man, I don't remember where they were at. I just saw them on Facebook. They have field lights they just put up that are very similar to Fit's lights.
I want to say it's in Phoenix.
I think it is
in Arizona, because they did one of the duels at that field.
Well, the two tips, I guess, is A, if you're in the area or you go visit, go do it. It's a lot of fun. And B, make sure you wear a clear lens. You can see a whole lot better.
Yep, definitely. All right, so this next question is brought to us by Bemraps, who's another Texas headband maker. So lots of Texas.
I love the videos, like of them making them.
Love it. So before you founded MAXT, you were also involved with other paintball companies, such as Social Paintball. So what was it that got you into like the manufacturing side of the scene?
It just kind of happened. Back in 2013, I was playing in the sport, but I wasn't really working in the sport, but I was doing a lot of graphic design work. And I really didn't do a lot of apparel prior to that. I owned a sign company. And then I also did like this real estate sign support company down in Katy, Texas, had a shop down there. And, so I had graphic design background, and like 3D design is the best way I can put it. Like designing something in 2 dimensions and then putting it on a 3-dimensional object. It's very different than like designing a flyer or something like that. So it's kind of a natural progression, but I just got a message one day on Facebook from Israel with Social Paintball, and he saw some of my work. He said, "Hey, I got this logo that I need you or I need designed, and I like what you do. Do you think you can do something with it? It's this line that I'm wanting to start called Grit." And I was like, "Yeah, let me see what I could do." So I designed the Grit logo. Is that Ryan? That's weird. Is he trying to join?
Yeah, it looks like Ryan Gray's hopping in the chat or hopping in the call here. Hey Ryan, we're in the
didn't mean to.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was just trying to listen.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, feel free to stick around.
I'm sorry, guys.
You're all good, Ryan. So Ryan Gray's here in the Discord call.
Apologies.
All good.
So that's cool. I'm glad. That means he's here in Chicago. He must have landed, so I'll get to see him soon. I'm always excited to see that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I totally lost my train of thought.
You said Israel had contacted you to do some logo that he had seen some of your
design.
work.
Yes, which was the grit logo, and I designed it. He's like, "Yeah, that's cool. Like, I love it. Like, you ever do jersey designs?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've done a few jersey designs." So we kind of went from there, and I don't know, we hit it off right away, and all of a sudden it snowballed, and I was starting to do jersey designs and working on kind of how we were putting these things together. And then he had this the original grit pant like designed, and then we went from there. And then it went fast. I mean, I went from not doing much in paintball except playing and not really working into it to a couple months later. AC Dallas is wearing our stuff. I like Lubbock Elite. You had Doug Bryan on a few weeks back, and he was like one of my first, customers as far as like with a team, and has been a huge supporter ever since. And those first jerseys were different. We just kind of did like a very similar throwback design for the team this year. It was kind of a nod to those, and it just all of a sudden it just skyrocketed. All of a sudden we had teams everywhere, scenario teams, tournament teams, and all of a sudden I'm going to events. And at the time, I also started getting into media, so I started filming a lot, and I really fell in love with filming and kind of putting highlight reels together and telling stories. And it was the strangest thing. It was not planned, that's for sure. But that's just kind of how it started.
Yeah, it's funny how it kind of falls into your lap like that. Just someone notices something cool that you're doing, and paintball's like a small enough community that you can like there's not a whole lot of saturation there where if you're doing something cool, then there's probably something that you can do with it within the paintball scene.
There definitely is. Tank Dangle. Those guys are a prime example. I don't know them that well, but I really got to talk to them at the last Bunker Fest. And, I actually asked him, I was like, how did you come up with this idea? And he's like, I'm like an art student, and I work in the art industry by trade. And I wanted something cool, and, trinkets and things like this, or like people like to have like, things like that. He's like, I ought to be cool to like make these like unique pieces. And I mean, it just blew up. Like people love those things.
Definitely. You've got that. I mean, Jason Bonner's here in the chat. I know he 3D prints the mini visors for the JT Pro Flexes and sells them.
Yep. I was supposed to get some of those and bring them to Chicago, but we didn't meet up.
Yeah. He also said in the chat that you filmed him winning SCPA in 2014.
That's true. I've got a lot of old footage from then. You know what I need to do, Jason? We should just set something up. Maybe we can even do it at Fit, and I should just bring all my hard drives out with stuff, and we should just go through old footage, because I have like all the Paintball Fit guys. They used to play on a team called Apex Predators, and I mean, I have so much great footage of them, and like these teams have been around for a long time, playing against each other, playing with each other, and like it really is a big family. That's why I love when I come to these events. I had people that ask me, they're like, oh, so you when you go work in a booth or you go work at an event and you're not playing this event, is that even fun? It's like, yeah, I'm at a paintball field. I watch high level paintball at NXLs. The best players in the world are out here, and I get to see my friends that I don't see every day. Like I get to see most of the people that are out here in the industry. I see them at events, and they live in different states, or we just don't have time, to meet up in between. So it's really cool to be able to see them, because it's like no time lost in between events when you see them. It could even be years later. And it's just great. It's just a good vibe to be around all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, just being in the industry, like I kind of have a similar story with it kind of falling into my lap, just out of nowhere shortly after I left teaching, and I'm in the process of going back to school, and like all that hasn't started up yet. And then out of the blue, I get a call from Archie. He's like, hey, we need someone, like they're starting to grow and expand their anodizing stuff with Technique. And so that's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, I met Archie through doing the podcast, and then also like I've been filming and doing stuff with Ryan Brand for a little while, and through that I kind of built a little bit of a name and connection there, and suddenly I'm Project and Technique's first employee. So it's crazy how paintball, just things kind of fall into your lap like that.
With paintball, there was a few years back, I got a little burned out on the sport. If you're in it long enough, everybody gets burned out on it, whether it's politics or whether it's you're just tired of being at the field every weekend. Like, I think most people go through that cycle with anything that you spend a lot of time doing and you put a lot of energy into. And I don't know. I got this weird thing. Like I looked at it like, oh, it's like a kid's game or it's weird. I don't know. I just got this weird mindset about it for a little while there. And then I don't know. It's something clicked to me and I realized like, man, like I've made so many friends in paintball and I've got to do so many things in paintball and like visiting places and traveling to places that I just wouldn't have done if I wasn't in the industry, you know? And when I talk to a lot of other people and you talk to people that aren't involved and they don't have hobbies and they don't have they kind of have that 9 to 5 lifestyle, like their fun a lot of times is just to go home and watch TV and barbecue on the weekends, which is fine. But for me, like it's like look at what we get to do. Like we get to do like we're doing a podcast talking about paintball and I'm sitting in Chicago.
Yeah,
and
it is a lot of extra time, though. To be completely fair, it's a lot of commitment that we have. Like
it is.
It's almost like a second job, or even more than that, because it's passion projects, and with passion projects, you're not exactly keeping track of your hours.
Exactly. Yeah, but man, I earned a lot of respect for myself for the sport and the people in the sport, and what the sport's done for me over the years. I mean, I'm working in the sport. I'm making a living in the sport. The last since 2013 I've been in the industry full time. I do other things with MAXT and other sports and things like that, but paintball is my passion. It's what I've done for so long. It's what I know. I mean, that's and it's cool to be able to do that. Everybody always asks me, like, you asked me about custom jerseys and getting into it, and I had to think about like, man, why do I really I get some enjoyment from making jerseys and seeing people get them, and I didn't really couldn't put my finger on it, but I think it's the best way I can describe it is like when you give someone a present and like they open it and they're so happy to see it. Like I'm a very bad receiver of gifts, but I love giving gifts to people. And it's kind of like that because every time you get a new jersey, like every time I get one, even if it's one that I've made myself for a team, like I'm so excited to just open the box or open the package and look at it. And especially if it's got my name on it or my team name on it, like there's just something special about getting a custom jersey that's yours and it's just your jersey. And I don't know, it makes me feel good every time, someone puts it on. They're so happy to have it and it's theirs. But that's like a big, like, I guess that's a why I make jerseys and why I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Speaking of kind of, and I'll jump around just cause you mentioned it. I'll jump around on that script a little bit. Speaking of why, this question is brought to us by Why I Paintball. So do you have like any advice for someone wanting to get into like the business or the manufacturing side of the industry?
Ooh, it's torturous. Man, it takes a lot of repetitions. If you play paintball, I'm sure you get, everybody under the sun's getting these messages from manufacturers trying to offer you cheap things that they could make and this and that. And I will tell you, it takes a long time to find, if you're not manufacturing it yourself, but you work with manufacturers, like find relationships with those manufacturers, whether they're in the States, whether they're overseas or anywhere, like make long-term relationships with good manufacturers and work with them, make sure they understand your product and can provide a consistent product. There's guys I've been working with for years and I talk with these guys all the time. Like, I know their families, they know mine, they know like our hobbies, like we exchange pictures of food. And I guarantee you most people don't do that with manufacturers and other people that they work with. And I think, having the patience to build that product out, because your first iteration of whatever you make, unless you're either lucky or a genius at making the products, like it's going to take you a while to get there. So don't just settle on making something going, yeah, it's good enough. Always innovate it, always work at it. And, you always have to evolve because, manufacturing like products and paintball, whether it's a jersey, whether it's a paintball marker, whether it's a loader or a regulator, like the project regs, I love those things. They look so good. But they don't do anything different than any other reg, right? But because it's cool and it's innovated and it looks, it looks different, like people are interested in it. Like it catches someone's eye. And it's the same with any product that you manufacture. Just make it yours. be creative with it and have fun. But I think the best advice I can have, like I said, is be patient and build the relationship with someone so you can actually build out a product, because it's going to take you a while. It's not going to happen in just a couple of months.
100%. And for others, I would encourage you, because, you know, granted, I'm not in the manufacturing side. I work for Project, but I by no means have too much advice to offer there. So I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the roundtable episode, which I think was episode 61 or episode 62, where we had guys like Ryan Brand, like JC Limon of Uno's Jerky, like JD Lucal, and he's obviously got his brand Hydra that he's got plenty of experience with. So go back and listen to that episode for anybody out there who's looking for more advice there. So
yep, and he's constantly innovating. Hydra is, you know, I remember when they first started with the D pads, and you know, even with the jersey he does for XTPL and all these things, like they don't just settle, like they're always innovating. They got the headbands out now with the Hydra snake on it, like those things are so cool. And you know, I love seeing that stuff. It's like this weird thing that I hear in the paintball industry. It's like, oh, that guy doesn't like that guy because they do the same thing. I'm like, are you kidding? Like, most of these guys I've known for years. We've either played on the same team or played against each other or worked together on other projects. And those guys make me better, because I'm not just going to keep making the same product constantly. Like, I have to innovate. I'm not somebody that always I don't watch what other people do. Like, I focus on what I'm doing, because like that's more than a full-time job to just constantly to stay on top of what I've got to do. But you know, you got to do like those market checks and kind of see what pricing's at, where things like that are going. And I'll see products on the market or someone that has something, like when Hormesis came out, and it's just this whole different vibe that's kind of its own thing. And it's cool to see that, because then you kind of rest on your laurels and you get in these habits and everything's being efficient and working well. But that's not how you create cool things and like fun stuff that's going to, you know, that you're going to innovate down the road. So I love seeing what everybody does, and I'm glad everybody does it a little bit different.
absolutely. And kind of going off of that, this question is brought to us by Paintball Kumite. What does your, like, that process of innovation and growth and honing your craft look like for you?
A lot of it for me is, you know, I kind of have an idea what I'd like a product to be. So like the current jersey for me is the Strike paintball jersey, which can, most people get it unpadded. I try to make it, you know, lightweight. A lot of feedback I got from my previous jersey, which was the Fight Light, which is the full mesh jersey. They're like, yeah, I really want a solid fabric on it because it's a more vibrant image, and you know, and it works great most of the year. Even in the summer, a lot of teams are running it when it was 100 degrees and little complaint. But being from Texas, I've just like mesh jerseys, and as much mesh as I can get on something and keep it durable is important. You know, I'm always trying to get feedback from players, and Jason Bonner's actually one. He gives me a lot of feedback on products constantly, and I appreciate that, because I mean, he beats the stuff up. His guys are out there every weekend training and practicing and playing tournaments, and they get a lot of reps in MAXT products. And you know, I did a version, and I'm calling it the Airstrike, because it's a full mesh jersey, and they ran those at the last Bunker Fest when it was 104 degrees outside, and he just was like, after the first match, he came over and was like, "Yep, the mesh is it." So I think for innovation for me, it's a lot of I get a lot of feedback from players as to like whether it's fit or look or styling, and I'm not afraid to like tweak a product as the year goes on, and then kind of get something as close to perfect as you can make that product. My goal is to have I want somebody to put on like a MAXT jersey or MAXT pants and not go, man, this is a cool jersey except for this thing, right? Like maybe the cuff or maybe the collar or whatever. I just want them to put it on and go, sweet, let's go play paintball. Like that's always my goal of the products, is just put it on, wear it. It doesn't inhibit what you're doing. But like I said, it doesn't usually start out like that. Usually a first iteration or a couple generations of a product, there's going to be some feedback from players. And, you know, I welcome any of that feedback, good, bad. And I realize for me, like you have to get like probably about 1,000 different one product style out there before you start to really get a good picture and a trend of either weak points in a product or changes that might need to be made. Because just because one person complains about it doesn't mean it's a problem. It might not warrant you changing it, but you have to really find those trends and try to tweak them so you get to the point where you just don't really get much feedback other than, man, this jersey's cool, I love it, thanks. So that's how I try to innovate is listen to the customer.
Right. Well, yeah, it can be tough to collect all of that feedback, but I mean, with you having this, being around this long and you're still in the game, you must be doing something right. And now, like, you've got, your own business. You took that leap, I guess, leaving social paintball to go form your own thing, and like, kind of tell us a little bit more about that. This question is brought to us by Mariachi Aguilas de Oro. Like, tell us what does MAXT stand for? Because I know I got some flack from Jell Stewart asking him what CMPT was when it was just compete. So
yeah.
I don't want to mess up any of these acronym names anymore. So tell us, what does MAXT stand for, and what was it that kind of brought about the move for you to branch out on your own?
I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Like, it's really hard for me to work for other people. It just kind of always has been. I think you're either built that way or you're not. With social paintball, like, they're being based out of Florida and me being based out of Texas. I think there became maybe some just creative disconnects with the cohesion of where things were going. They saw things going one way, I saw things going another way, and for me, it was just easier to kind of bring things in-house and make it mine, and it really feeds my creativity. Social's not my brand, it's its own brand, and it's somebody else's vision. And it's important for me to be able, like, if I think it up, I can just do it. With MAXT, I can just wake up in the morning, all of a sudden I can have a new product like that day, just because I feel like it. It's really hard to do that with someone else's brand and stylistic direction and all kinds of things. So that was for me a big driving force. Is like I said, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to be the person that can make those decisions. It's just really important to me, and then, like, for my soul to be able to create these things. MAXT is it's kind of an old school paintball term. When you max the team, you got 100 points against them. It wasn't X-ball. It wasn't going down and playing a timer and scoring a point, and then they get to score a point against you. Paintball was originally scored on this point system. See if I can remember it. It added up to 100. It was like 5 points per each other team, player eliminated, which is 25 points. And then it was, I think it was 25 points for the first flag pull.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it was 20 points for the first flag pull.
Points for,
and then it was like
your body's alive.
Yeah, it was like 2 points for your body's alive, and then the rest of the points were hanging the flag in the other on the other person's gate, because it was center flag push for 5-man. 10-man was different. It was capture the flag, but same kind of point structure. A little more complicated. Well, if you're perfect, if you eliminate everybody with everybody alive, get the first flag pull, hang the flag, you max the other team. It's like, hey, how'd your game go? Oh, I maxed those guys. So that's actually where the name came from. Greg Hastings actually had everybody's favorite game of his that was out that everybody loved, the breakout planner that was on it. It was like Greg Hastings Tournament Paintball MAXT, but his was MAX''D. And but the same kind of thing. It was a play on that.
Love it. Really staying true to your roots with that name.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, question here from the chat from Brandon Ortega. He asks, do you have a close group of friends or team that you use for product testing? Or if so, how important is that feedback?
Well, I mean, we kind of talked about it. Greed's one of them that I get a lot of feedback from. Austin Notorious is one. I know that was in the questions. We haven't talked about them yet. The Austin Notorious guys, like, I know this year they've been very crucial. We were talking about first iterations of jerseys. When I switched to the strike jersey, they were one of the first teams to take it on and really run reps. And Archie Barnes Jr., who plays with them, they went out and practiced the Hurricanes for the first event, and he wound up kind of blowing a spot out on his jersey. And I was like, man, like, how long did that take you? He goes, oh, I ran 77 points. It literally blew out on like point number 76 of running to the snake over and over and over 3 days straight. And I was like, okay, that's not too bad because that's probably more reps than most guys get in months of paintball. And he did it in such a short amount of time. But it did allow me to find, kind of a tweak that I needed instantly just by being able to have a team that plays so much. Like I said, Greed and Avarice, they play out at Fit a lot, and they're close by, and I have a good relationship with them, and I've had a long relationship with a lot of those guys, Bonner included, and they get so many reps on the products, and they have so much experience with my different products that I'm able to get some pretty quick feedback just from them putting it on. They can kind of give me that. So for me, it's very important to have people that are familiar with my products and are able to give me feedback and like field testing. But I have a lot of other teams that are kind of out there and individual players that help me out. Matt the Gym Rat, you guys know Matt the Gym Rat. Like he's been beating up my products all year, and that guy goes hard. And Matt's been giving me a lot of product feedback as well, and fabrics. He's really into and something that we've been really working on. He just dropped this line of t-shirts, the Oni mask line. If you go to maxsportswear.com, you can check it out. But he likes a particular style of shirt that we make because of the fabric, and the fit is great for him in the gym. And apparel is a very personal thing, and everything fits a little bit different. And I do make several different styles of t-shirts, but having that kind of feedback to make it more palatable to people that don't just want to play paintball and the products, they want to go to the gym or they want to run and do other sports in it. So so yes, short answer is yes, there are teams and players that I tap, and that feedback is crucial.
Love it. All right. This next question is brought to us by FU Athletics. Go to thefuathletics.com. Use code INTHEPITS25 for 25% off of your order. So through everything that you've kind of done up to this moment, either as a player, as a business owner, manufacturer, do you have a single favorite moment in your career so far?
Ooh.
And if you want to give kind of separate it into those categories, and feel free to.
Man, that's a tough one. I'm really bad at trying to. I'm very much like an in the moment. Like things move fast. There's always that next thing. I think for me recently with Max, what I've been really proud of in the last couple of years is it's gone from a brand where I would go to a new field or I'd go to a tournament and they're like, Max, like what's that? To really getting out and getting across the country and into different markets, and where somebody they recognize it. I remember I was at Cup last year, and I ran into a guy at the Philly NXL, and that's what he did when he walked in at Philly, and he's like, Max, like I never heard of you guys, like I like some of your stuff, and we kind of had that banter, and he bought like a t-shirt, and he came to World Cup, and he walked in, and he's like, hey, I was hoping you were going to be here because there was some pants that I wanted to get, but I couldn't get them then. So you still have them. Like I'm grabbing these joggers from you. And I think that was a cool moment for me because that was someone from Philly, that was out that specifically came to find the brand at World Cup. And that's what I've been working so hard last year and this year is to really bring brand recognition to the NXL and to the tournament scene. And that's a more recent moment that's really stood out to me, that I'm pretty proud of. That's always like my first indication of like, okay, cool, it's kind of working, like it's going that direction.
Yeah, and I bet now that you've signed Austin Notorious, like that name recognition has started to really go up for you. So let's actually talk about you signing Notorious and how that kind of came to be. So you've not only did you sign Notorious, you've also put your name out as a sponsor of the Bunkerfest series, and you did the promotion with teams and getting kind of like a winning incentive there for first place teams if they wore your jerseys. Yep. So what was it that you saw or maybe you foresaw that led you to going down this path to signing Notorious and then also being the event sponsor? And would you say, has it paid off for you so far?
Yeah, it's definitely paid off. Notorious definitely wasn't planned. I'll be honest. I didn't expect to pick up a professional level team this quick when I became a silver sponsor of the NXL last year with MAXT. And, I know a lot of the guys of the NXL, like, Matt Ingles and guys like that. Done some products with kind of behind the scenes and worked with them. And it was just kind of a natural progression. I wanted to get the brand more into tournament paintball. So doing that last year, I've known Mark Franz and a lot of the guys that play on Notorious for, 10 plus years. Like we used to play against each other. I used to shoot at these guys all the time and they'd shoot at me and we'd play together. I've done jerseys for them. I did jerseys for them like 10, 8, 9, 10 years ago. I made back when PSP was around and those divisions and or those leagues. So I had a relationship with him, and then I wasn't really seeing a lot of him because they were playing a lot of NXL stuff, and then I just wasn't bumping into them as much. When I was, it was in passing. And then last year being at the NXLs, we were definitely seeing each other more, and it was cool to see like old friends and old faces and see how they were doing so well in semi-pro. And I was rooting them on last season, but never thought, the paint companies dominate the pro division. That's what everybody wants is paint and markers, and there's certain gear. No one really jumps over to a jersey manufacturer, soft goods typically. So, that they had some different things happen that's behind the scenes that they were working with, and the organization kind of reached out to me and said, hey, we're interested in kind of branding, Austin Notorious and like building that and working, we're going to be learning as a pro team. And we know that you're interested in kind of coming up, and this might be a good partnership for us to develop some products that are Notorious branded products and just kind of co-branded. And it just makes sense that you're here in Texas and we already have a relationship. Can we make it work? So, we sat down and talked and figured what the best course of action was. And luckily we were able to make it work. And then, Mark and I, shook hands and signed contracts and went about it. And, it's been awesome. Like it was like a seismic shift in what I was planning on doing this year. Cause I was just kind of going to do the same, working with divisional teams and continuing to support the NXL as a silver sponsor and, continue to support, regional leagues. Having them, it kind of jump started all of a sudden, like, oh wow, like the Max is going to be on the main stage in paintball and everybody's going to see it and they're going to go, man, what's that? And they'll start looking into it. And it took a couple of events, but I think more people are kind of recognizing that, that MAXT is the jersey supplier for, Austin Notorious. And then we also do Austin FSU, which is the European pro team. They just finished 4th in France. Lost to the Tuntons by 1 point. So they did a fantastic job over there as well. And, it's just been cool. It's been a learning experience for me for sure. But it's kind of what I need. And it's been nice to be able to do it with guys that I'm familiar with that I already kind of consider family. We're able to kind of talk candidly about what each, what Max needs, what the organization needs, and then adjust as things go on, which, a lot of those sponsorship relationships aren't like that for teams. They're just kind of told what to do. And I think that was important to them to kind of try to figure out their identity as this year progresses, and they're still working on it. And I'm excited to see how they do this week. But yeah, it's been cool. Bunkerfest, that was definitely unexpected, mainly because Chris, he owns Under, and Under's a competitor of MAXT. And you don't expect, everybody kind of does their own thing, but you don't expect everyone to try to work together that are competitors in different fields, regardless of what it is. It's like, Coke and Pepsi are signing up to work together on a co-sponsorship. But when he actually reached out and said, hey, I really want to make this a Texas thing with Bunkerfest. And I really want, be cool to have you on board with Texas teams and offer maybe some kind of contingency program that Under can offer and Max can offer. And would you be interested? And I'm like, well, same thing. Let me crunch some numbers. Let's kind of figure out how it works because, not being a paint company, like paint companies have paint contingency programs, well, because they make the paint. As a jersey manufacturer, a team buys a set of jerseys. It's really hard buy paint for teams all year if they're winning just by selling them, X amount of jerseys. Like there's not that constant commodity of a paintball going out, that they're purchasing. So, once we were able to work it out, like it's been a lot of fun to be involved in that, because there's so much hype around that series, and the teams are having a lot of fun playing it. And and it's been very welcoming to vendors, coming in. It feels like an event when you go to it. So that's it's been cool. Definitely unexpected. Both of those were unexpected things for this year, but I'm glad that it happened.
Yeah, it's cool to see that Texas and Texans in general, they're kind of circling the wagons a little bit around each other, and
yep,
they're really like, hey, Texas is the mecca of paintball. We're going to show everybody that we can be that on every front, not just like the playing side, but also like business, manufacturing, the events themselves. Like Texas can do it better than anyone else, and we're starting to see like kind of cross promotion with each other, like from teams to businesses to fields and leagues. And now we're seeing like, hey, people are coming into Texas and coming for Texas brands because of that.
Yeah, it's the whole thing just snowballed. Like with Also Notorious, it's been cool because I made a lot of friends with the divisional teams, and a lot of guys like Shelda Photos, Dan over there. I met him. We do work, a lot of work together, and he's done fantastic work coming into it. He was originally just going to play for their D5 squad, and I think maybe their D4 squad. And then he grabbed a camera and started shooting down in Florida at NXL. And he's like, I think I want to do this. Like, this is so much fun. And he started doing that. And then Amanda, who's, his girlfriend, or fiance, and she started filming. She was actually in Philly doing some filming behind the scenes of Notorious, and just really got into it. She does YI Paintball, and one of your sponsors. And I love listening to people that are passionate about media and stories, and she's really passionate about that. So that was cool to see. So there's all these people that I've met just through that relation, through old relationships, basically with Mark Franz and Notorious and Ryan Gray, and guys that were just so just they had such a big impact on getting me into that scenario to be able to work with Notorious. And it's just grown so much. Same thing with Bunkerfest, working with paint contingency programs. Like, I start looking out at other leagues and, hey, how can I make this work elsewhere? Because for me, I try to do what I can to give back to teams that support MAXT and have supported, me over the years, because I appreciate it so much. And, to be able to just, when they win and do something great, to buy them paint, like have their paint paid for, like that's so cool to be able to do that. And now that these big prizes are out there, couple it with that, like these teams really feel like man, winners. Like they're really coming out with it. Something that hasn't been announced yet is next season with USXBL, I'll have a contingency program as well. MAXT will have one over there. So any teams that are playing USXBL that are MAXT teams, are going to get rewarded over there as well. So there's a lot of MAXT going around, and I'm hoping that we can expand it beyond Texas, and that as I continue to kind of try to grow with the support of everyone, and just a lot of hard work, a lot of travel and innovation, and that we can grow to the point where we can really turn it into something where I can set up programs like that for teams, that whether they're winning or whatever it is, where there's some kind of like a payback program. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of new. I don't know about new ground, but it feels like something like definitely for the player, and these players and teams out there, they're appreciative of it. I'm sure. I know like Jason Bonner is. He's in the chat saying he's cashed in 30 cases off of that so far. So
Notorious has banked off pretty big because all their divisional teams are sponsored. But teams that have been like, with under over at Bunkerfest, like same thing with them. Like I'm sure, I don't know how many of those teams have cashed in, but that like the stuff doesn't have to be done. But I'm glad. I really feel like there's been a shift lately with I don't know. It's like players do really want prizes. I know that we don't just play paintball for prizes because most, it's a hobby. But if we can figure out how to get players more and it makes business sense, then we should do it. It's really tough, like racking your head, especially as a small business, to try to find those spots where you can try to kind of give back to players that support what you've been doing and working so hard for.
Yeah, it's been an interesting new wave. I think ever since Rangel brought back the Bunkerfest series in 21, and right out the gate was giving, $5,000 for first place in Division 3, $4,000 in Division 4, like numbers that you haven't really seen anywhere, like even including the NXL. You don't see those numbers outside of the pro division or semi-pro division. And since then, it's definitely been, other leagues out there have like noticed it and kind of done that as well. I guess. Well, I should take that back a little bit because I know that WC has offered those big numbers for a while, and then
I was going to say that.
Yeah, WC's had that for a bit, and then Bunkerfest did it, and now like other leagues within Texas are copying that as well, or not copying, I shouldn't say, but I guess
inspired by.
Inspired by. That's a better word for sure. So kind of speaking of the passion for media, part of your sponsorship with Notorious is publishing or producing that 2-part documentary series that was posted a couple of months ago. So like, what was it that brought about, I guess, the idea for doing this?
As soon as I knew I was going to be in, it's funny. It's actually not part of the sponsorship deal. It's just something that I wanted to do for them. Will from 40 Dot Media had filmed the first 2 and did some, fabulous editing, putting it together. It's a lot of work doing a documentary, and he had never done documentary work before, and he learned real fast, like, man, it's crazy, like putting this together. Guys that have never worked in the media or doing video, like, man, I respect the media guys so much. A lot of, if you come by the MAXT booth, you'll look in the back and you'll see a lot of media guys hanging out. I let them, stash their gear in secure places and things like that, because I know how expensive the gear is and how much work they put into it. So I didn't have that, when I was playing before a lot. There wasn't photographers and videographers around, so I thought, this is Notorious's first year. Like, I want to do something for these guys and at least have something they can look back on and be like, man, this is my first year. These are memories that I had. So that was really the drive to kind of put that together for them. Another one's about to drop from Philly this week. And then we're also doing another one for this weekend here in Chicago, and then also for World Cup. So it's going to continue, and there's going to be more content added. But that was really the drive, was just to highlight, these guys. And, for me, man, like Marky, I've known Marky since he was like 10 or 11 years old. And I've known Mark for that long. And then Ty Bateman and guys like that, man, they were like D5 players with a dream, and, they're living that dream. Michael Anthony, who plays with them, man, it's crazy. Like Jared Sherman, who plays with them. Like I remember when these guys started playing paintball, and like they're talented, and they're some of the best in the world now. And, they were just kind of, homegrown right there in Texas at these fields that we play at every single weekend. So to be able to do something for those guys was just my way of trying to show them, like, hey, like, I really appreciate you guys. And I want to do something a little extra to highlight the team and to introduce Notorious to people that don't know who you guys are, being a new pro team on the scene.
And I think that is how media should be done within paintball. Like, these are professional level teams, and there's very few teams out there that have any media, period. Like, even just like a consistently posting like Instagram or Facebook page. There's out of 20 teams, and it's crazy how few of them are doing media, like putting any time at all, let alone doing it with the amount of attention that it deserves. And I could probably count on, 2 hands. Like I I would be willing to bet that it's less than half of the pro division that's doing media the correct way. And then
there's and you know, me, like, media takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of effort, and then, you know, I struggle with it. I've kind of fallen off the media bandwagon here lately since the summertime just turned into a grind in a bunch of different ways with projects that I was working on, and couldn't really focus on the media stuff. But you have to, because consistency is key online, right? Like on YouTube or Facebook, like you constantly have to have this content. Because there's guys I follow on YouTube that, you know, paintball or even non-paintball, that I kind of look forward to that content. Like they have a schedule, you know, and you're looking for that. And, you know, I need to do a better job doing that with MAXT, and you know, I've got some things in place to kind of start working on that. But that's why, you know, I've partnered with guys like Matt Davies, Matt the Gym Rat, because when you talk about putting content, like, that guy's a content monster. And if you go look, like, he's wearing MAXT products, so it's good marketing. But like, I really appreciate what he does, because it's been insane. Like, when I first met him, I actually met him from my friend Chris Beasley, who used to play with Air Force Academy, and I made their jerseys. He moved to Texas to train as a pilot and played with me on Grit for a couple seasons. And we just, you know, we're still really good friends. And he introduced me to Matt at Philly last year. And I didn't know who Matt was. I wasn't on TikTok. I didn't know that this guy had 1.2 million followers on TikTok. And I was standing there talking to him, and I got these 10-year-old kids walking up going, "It's Matt the Gym Rat. Oh, hey, it's Matt the Gym Rat." And they're getting autographs from him. He's giving stickers out, and he's shaking everyone's hands. And he's a celebrity to these kids that are coming into the sport. And we need guys like him, that people find on YouTube or they find on TikTok, and it gets them interested in the sport of paintball. So, you know, hopefully some of the stuff that we do this year in Notorious will do that. But most importantly, I just want, when people watch it, to go, okay, I didn't know that about those guys. That's cool. You know, like I'm glad I watched it and learned something a little different, that I wouldn't have thought about that crew.
Absolutely. And I love how you put it, like, you were partnering with this other social media monster out there. Like, there's so many people out there that like, they're available for hire, and even just like having even just a small budget of, hey, we're going to find someone, like, even if you go on websites like Fiverr and you give them like footage and you just say, hey, make a video X length and do these things. Like, it's not too difficult, or even doing something like going a step even less involved than that. Like, if you get camera people, which there's so many different people with cameras at practices nowadays, especially in Texas. Like, if you get Verbal, Shelda, Get That Shot, AFG Filming, those are 4 like really big media members just within Texas alone. And if there's now, like, I don't know how recently it was, but it seems like it was at least within the last like 6 months. Even on Instagram, you can, whenever you make posts, you can add someone as a collaborator, which makes it look like as if it was posted from their account. And if you just, even if you were to just do that with like 1 post a week, or, you know, whatever schedule that you set, and you just say, hey, Verbal, we're going to come film Diesel at a practice, for example, and you set AC Diesel PB _ as their collaborator. Suddenly you're getting audiences from both accounts.
Doubling your audience. Yeah.
And now suddenly you are actually making posts, and it's as simple as that, where some of these teams that really don't have an online presence, like, it's not very difficult. And I think they just think, oh, we have to do it ourselves, or maybe our budget's like really, really tiny, and we're all, you know, doing what we can just to play paintball as it is. But like, for professional level teams, or even like the NXL itself, like, just get some partnerships out there with some of these camera people that are already, the content's already there. All they have to do is like type your name in when they're posting it, and bam, you're like significantly increasing the amount of outreach that you have.
Well, I know everybody's on a budget, but don't be afraid to hire camera guys. Like, you think it's expensive, like, oh, they're going to charge me $200, $300, whatever someone's price is. You don't know how much money they've spent on everything, like their camera equipment, the guys that are quality, they spend thousands of dollars on that equipment and it gets wrecked. It isn't covered under warranty. I learned that the hard way with Canon. There's paint in every crevice. So they're not just spending money, they're also spending time. It takes a lot of time to edit photos properly. It takes a lot of time to edit videos and put them together. Just a 30-second clip, it might take them 30 minutes. And to find the right thing, to clip it right, to find the right music. Like it sounds simple to do it, but I mean, these guys will spend several days editing highlight videos, sometimes longer, just to get it right. And if you can work it into your budget, talk to different. Everybody charges something different, but whether you're a company or a team, like I highly advise, hire these guys if you can afford it. Figure out, collect $25 from each guy on the team and hire a photographer. I guarantee you, when you look back on these photos, when you have them, you're going to really be glad that it wasn't someone standing there with a cell phone snapping pictures. You're going to be glad it was someone with some professional camera equipment, that you get all the detail and it feels like you're there watching the action.
Definitely.
So,
and even just paying the camera person, the $300 that they might charge. And let's say they get you back a folder with somewhere between 100 and 150 photos from the event. Like if you post one time, or let's say you post 3 times a week, do you know how many months of content that is for you to post for just one $300 charge? That seems well worth it to me for some of these paintball brands that are needing to increase their popularity online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, what kind of kept me afloat was, like I said, it's kind of bandwidth issues and a lot of projects going on where I know I personally shifted focus away from social media, but I had guys like Shelda and Notorious and other photographers, Carlos, would get that, and guys that Enrique was another one, guys that were kind enough to add me, Max, as a collaborator. And it's cool though, because you're kind of wind up blending these two different audiences. Like they find people that are kind of following your page, and then your people find them, and then you just kind of build that community.
Yeah, 100%. And so yeah, let me look at the chat here real quick. Just a lot of people giving love and giving some nostalgia stories in here. Let's see, Dan Shelley was in here. He says, Charles, one of the unsung paintball heroes of Texas. He does so much for Texas paintball. Absolutely. Let's see who else is in here. Nelson is in here.
Appreciate that, Dan. Nelson Perez?
Yep, looks like it. And
how's it going, Nelson?
Bobby Kramer is in here. Says, I need a shirt that says nostalgia is undefeated.
You'll have to text that to me.
Yep. And then looks like Cliff Shivers is in here. Says, Charles Dean, mean on the scene.
Pro Edge, man. Them boys too. Y'all look pretty mean with your jerseys this year.
Absolutely.
And David, yeah, they sent me this soccer inspired design from the Dynamo, and I honestly didn't know how it would look. I usually don't mimic jerseys that much, but did theirs, and they look dirty when they come out. They look hot. I love the way they look this year.
100%. Let's see. And then Jason Bonner says, MAXT Factory NXL Europe 2024. Let's travel.
Yeah, Jason wants to get out there to Europe. He got the European paintball bug. I love it.
Yeah, I saw him getting it done over in semi-pro with, who is it, the Droogs?
Yeah.
Love it.
Super cool logo, by the way.
All right. So we're getting towards the end of our show. So anybody who's here in the chat, go get your questions in the chat before we get to the end, and we'll answer a couple of them. Victoria Dean's in the chat, says, go dad.
Yep, that's my daughter. Hi, honey. Thanks for watching.
All right. So this next question is brought to us by Hydra. So we are about to enter the NXL Windy City Major. What can we expect from MAXT this weekend?
Well, I've got a Chicago event shirt that's pretty cool, so definitely expect that. Swing by the booth and come grab it. Also got some shorts. Everyone's been asking for shorts, so swing by and grab that. And as far as online, look out in shorts and stories. Most NXL events, I'm out there trying to get the teams. A lot of it focuses around Notorious since they're the pro squad. Carolina Clutch will be out here playing with their squads. They've got some pretty sick jerseys, so I'll be posting those up. Check out the stuff. Carolina Clutch is cool, man. Ryan, their team owner, they do new jerseys for every event, and it's very specific to that event. So it's going to be something inspired by Chicago on both their lines. You may have Matt the Gym Rat plays with those guys as well, and you may have seen in Philly they had those orange Flyers inspired jerseys, but everything becomes Carolina branded and with the C's on them. I know they're not a Texas team, but
well,
but they're definitely my boys.
We actually got to play them in Texas, and we knocked them out in the wild card round.
Yeah, with Titans.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you guys are a solid team, so it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, but the clutch guys with their jerseys it's been fun. I know the Flyers jersey was. That orange was awesome. So this weekend, definitely look out for that stuff on social media. Instagram is mostly where it gets posted. So at MAXT Paintball.
Absolutely. And I'm personally a big fan of the hockey themed jerseys. I mean, my favorite Longhorn jersey was that hockey style jersey that you designed. And I know there was a team, I think it was the Padres in NXL Texas. They had like a Dallas Stars themed jersey. I don't know. Were you the one that designed that?
No, Weapons did that one. They did an awesome job on it. Very rare that I'm jealous of other people's jersey that come up. I was jealous of that one because everybody was asking for stars, and honestly, well, nobody actually commissioned me to do one, but I just couldn't think of like a way to make it really happen. But something about that green. I remember I looked over and saw those guys. I was like, damn, that looks really good. Like Todd and the boys did an awesome job.
I was actually so like jealous of that jersey. I offered to buy it off of someone like right then and there, and they were like,
it was good.
Yeah, they had just like lost in Ochos or whatever, and they're like, look, we appreciate it. Just message us. And I'm sad to say that they never messaged me back on Instagram. Maybe I'll give it another shot. But those jerseys were definitely the sickest ones at the event.
I was thinking of inspired jerseys. I think it might be a Letterkenny inspired jersey, but No Soul Studios, David had me do one of his, so he'll have to post a picture of that and tag in the pits and show it off for anybody to check out.
Ooh.
That one was fun.
There we go. All right, so this question is one that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and it's so that I can get to know kind of more lesser known names or up and comers, or someone that we need to give more attention to. So this question is brought to us by Get Dat Shot. Message him on Facebook or Instagram if you're needing media coverage at NXL this weekend. So Definitely. Is there anybody in Texas, either teams, players, brands, or projects that have caught your attention lately? Who do you think in Texas deserves more recognition for what they're doing?
Ooh, that's a good one because there's so much going on. You mentioned Uno's Jerky earlier. That's definitely one. I don't know if I'd consider them a paintball brand, but they're definitely, they make beef jerky.
I would. Awesome. I mean, the flavors are named after paintball teams in Texas, so you got to consider it.
Yeah, it's that they've been the new hotness, so that's definitely one to watch out for. I think as far as up and comer, I talked about Amanda earlier with Wyatt Paintball, and she's a sponsor. I actually didn't know that they were a sponsor until I'd seen that earlier. You
just joined, I think 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, so if you go look up Wyatt Paintball, and again, I was talking to her in Philly, and she was really about stories, and I've heard Maddie talk about that on Go Sports, previous to Go Sports, and he'd always talk about like paintball needs stories, just like that's why these reality TV shows and sports stars, like, we have these stories, and that's kind of what she's getting at with that is everyone from, doesn't matter if it's a mom and a dad or a scenario player or a D5 player or Ollie Lang. It's it's why do you play paintball? Like it's such it's a simple concept, but it means so much to each person, and it's so different. And I love looking at the answers that I can tell are very personal, almost like spiritual for that person. And then I look at the ones and I know the player, and I'm like, they're such a smart ass, but that was pretty good. But it runs the gamut on there. But it's pretty cool. Like I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know of anyone that's ever done something quite like that in paintball, where they've just focused on something so simple that means so much. So that's definitely something I would look out for and check out, is Wyatt Paintball.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out Wyatt Paintball. Go check out Uno's Jerky, of course. I don't know if JC actually made it up to Chicago for this one. I know he was saying he wanted to get a booth at the NXL event. I don't know if that actually ended up happening, but I know he has booths. He has booths at Bunkerfest. He has booths at USXBL. And I want to say he's going to have a booth at the WC Championships as well.
Uh, when I talked to him, I think that was his plan. I think the trick was getting out to Cali. I don't. Can you order his stuff online?
I think so. Last time I talked to him, he said he was thinking of doing a plan where you have like a monthly subscription type deal. And I think for jerky, that's perfect. So yeah, go check him out. Obviously got to recommend the Texas Titan flavor. Definitely the best flavor. May not be.
Maybe I'll have to talk to him about doing a MAXT flavor. I have to figure out what it is though.
There we go.
Kind of hot habanero to the max, maybe, huh?
That would be cool. Huh? Yeah, I know. The newest flavor, Texas Demolition, was his hot one, and maybe we can go even hotter because I thought that flavor, even though it's a little bit more spicy, it's definitely it could go more.
Well, you're also from Texas.
Yeah, very true. Well, actually, I'm not from Texas. I was born in New York.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, they like spicy food in New York too. So.
Yeah. A little bit. All right. So last question in the chat here from Tishawn Crenshaw. He says, tell them about the mini docu-series coming.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on it earlier with Austin Notorious. So Tayshawn will be up here doing kind of the nitty gritty interviews and the pit work. Tayshawn actually played with Notorious for a while years back. We played some tournaments together, and he's also done some stuff with like AC Dallas and some of those guys. He's been around the Texas scene and the Colorado scene and around paintball, but he works at X Factor. But he's a videographer. Like he just got back from a bear hunt in Washington State filming that. So I'm excited to be working with him. So look out for that edit when it comes out. Probably right before Cup is when that one will drop.
All right, be on the lookout for that, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
So this final question is brought to us by Compete. Message him on Facebook or Instagram. Mention In the Pits for 10% off of your order of soft goods. So Charles, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Man, there's just too many people that I'd like to thank, but anybody that's out there that's ever supported me over the years, teams, fields, all across Texas. I know there's so many people that I didn't get to mention. It's, been focusing a lot on now. But I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. It goes a long way. Doing custom apparel is, I'm sure a lot of you guys can guess, is very, taxing on energy and creativity and efficiency behind the scenes and keeping things moving. So, feel free to reach out if I don't get back to you fast enough, just shoot me a couple more messages. I'm really good at email. So, I haven't been able to check a lot of Facebook stuff lately. So, Christian knows that. Like, he'll send me a message. I think he was trying to get me on the podcast and I won't see it for a while. So if you need to get a hold of me, the best way is Charles at maxsportswear.com. Or give us a follow online. And like I said, I pay attention to a lot of the things and comments and things that happen on social media, but I can't say how much I appreciate the support over the years and the love that I've gotten from players and support in the industry. And I look forward to growing the brand and hopefully giving back to players even more next season. So yeah, I think that mostly sums it up.
Absolutely. All right. Yeah. Stay tuned for what is coming next from Max. So I think that does it for our show. Thank you everybody so much for tuning in. Be sure to go follow MAXT at MAXT Paintball on Instagram. What other guests would you like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on youtube.com/@inthepitspaintballpodcast, and recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. Quick shout out to my partner and sponsor tier subscribers on Patreon: FU Athletics, Get That Shot, Paintball Kumite, Compete, Bem Wraps, Skull Monkeys Paintball, Hydra, XCPL Events, YI Paintball, Mariachi Aguilas de Oro, and Pod Runners Union. We will see you all next week for episode 66, where we're going to be joined by Meteor Ninos of San Antonio X Factor. He's going to give us his story as well as post NXL Chicago breakdown, hopefully with a gold medal added to his trophy case. So we will see you all then. Charles, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.